so moist.
That's the short version?
Yeah, I don't think we have a long version. Welcome to Functional Meatheads. I'm Mark DeSalvo.
I'm Froilan Sanchez.
And I don't know if it's you, but I've noticed in the podcast, or if it's just me, but I've noticed in the podcast world, the summer seems to start to slow things down. I feel like I have less to listen to. But it's cool because I have a lot more to read lately, so I don't know if it balances out.
It's funny you bring that up because I got sick of Rogan on the last one. I got so angry with him, I stopped. I turned it off.
Are you talking about the Dan Savage one?
I was like, you're
I just heard it today.
being an idiot about the fat thing, and I'm like, he kept harping. He would not concede to Dan about like.
Here's the thing. Okay, yeah. I actually went on a rant on Reddit about this. Not a rant, but it was like I broke it down.
Everybody, what happened though? So just in case.
Yeah. So it wasn't crazy, but basically, Joe Rogan had Dan Savage on his podcast, and they butted heads a few times on a few issues. But the one particularly that was of note that Freud's talking about is Joe Rogan said something to the effect of.
He wouldn't want a leader who's fat.
He wouldn't want a leader who's fat. He wouldn't want Chris Christie to be president.
It seems like they're lazy.
Yes, he said it implies laziness, lack of control, lack of discipline, all things he doesn't want in a leader. And
he had also just previously agreed that like stuff happens in the womb and people are premeditated to like X, Y, Z. They both agreed to that.
Right, exactly.
And,
so it got crazy, and you know, the thing about it is that if you're familiar with Dan Savage at all, he exists in the old school of media where you have to kind of reduce everything to a few minute bites. And Dan Savage often has to deal with some of the worst people. You know, he has to deal with people who are very simple-minded pundits, talking heads. And if you notice that anytime Dan Savage tried to dismantle a Rogan argument, whether he was successful or not, he immediately tries to pull everything into a black and white perspective. Like Dan Savage, to me, doesn't exist in the gray. It's actually for years what I've thought of him, and it's why I like him, but I have to take him in small doses because the world is not black and white, and to him it seems like it is.
I'm on Dan Savage's side on this one, though, to be honest with you.
I don't know. Yeah,
I was mad at Rogan because I'm like, dude, you're not going to solve it in the podcasts because you both have different opinions, but at least he would not see his point. He would not see, and then he would even counter-argue about Clinton, and then he was counter-arguing about, you know, power, what it means to have power and discipline and all that stuff. I don't know. I just felt he was being stubborn for stubborn's sake and not.
I agree on that one. I
was like, dude, you're being an idiot. And I'm like, I'm done with you. I actually turned it off. I can't listen to any more of this because he was being. I know how he gets when he argues, and he won't. I've never seen him. He's like a dog. He'll always like, no, let's look it up online. No, I'll find this, and then like, it was very. It was almost like he wasn't arguing the point anymore. He just didn't want to be wrong for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah.
And I hate that. I hate it when he does that because he never has good information, and he always just goes off with it. And I was like, come on, dude.
No, you're definitely you're not wrong on that. I agree with you. That's like the worst of it. The other thing I would say, the other reason that these two seem wildly incompatible is because it goes again to like the worlds they come from. Like Rogan is kind of like that. Let's chill and talk. I want to spend time with you. That very anthropological type of approach. Like, let me live with you. Like, let me live with your opinions and see what you're all about. And Savage again comes from the world of I have to figure you out in 8 minutes or less. And
he's been burned by groups before, obviously, and he's also
exactly.
And he also lives in that world where he's in the old media, so he has to like. Rogan can say whatever the fuck he wants, right? Because he's
right, exactly.
Yeah. That guy can't. He has to like, and even Rogan. I admitted that. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
The problem is that Rogan has certain buttons that will get hit, and he'll and he, even though like someone might be agreeing with him, he might not see it that way because he heard like the word psychedelics and bad in the same sentence, so
Yeah,
then
yeah.
he'll just go off. But like it's like no, dude, he's agreeing with you. And then it's hard to listen to as a listener because you're just like, oh, he's agreeing with you, dude, like let's not waste time on this, let's talk about whatever. But yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
that
I would encourage you to listen to the rest of it because it does get better, and it turns into a normal conversation after that.
I was just so mad. I'm like, why am I getting mad? I'm like, and then I mean, Joey Diaz, like, look at him. He never gives him shit about his weight. I mean, he does give people shit about their weight, but he never like, I'm not gonna be friends with you, or, and you know, this is an argument I've had with myself a lot, like especially about sports. Like I've always had a problem with what heavy coaches. Like you have a coach like
Andy Reid.
Andy Reid and the guy from the Jets. Like I've always had a problem with that. But I know it's more of like I'm able to see like, look, it doesn't mean that you're a bad coach.
Right.
It just means that you're not. It's not you're not healthy yet. As you're not as healthy as you can be, but it's all for the goal. So it's almost like the reason they do that is because they live, breathe, eat the season. You know, at the risk of like losing their health, right? Like no sleep, crunching video, eating pizza in meetings. You know, like the legitimate like. So, but it obviously doesn't mean they're not good at football. They're obviously the best that they can be at coaching football, right?
Right. I look at
Distinction of like I see why they do it. It doesn't make it any better, you know what I mean? But I see why they do it. So I've never really judged. I just kind of in my head I'm like, he's coach for these awesome athletes, and yet they don't have to be ripped, you know. I just don't want somebody that's like, whoa, dude, you're not looking like too healthy, you know. Like you look like you could die at any minute, you know.
right. Well, to me, when you have extreme obesity like that, to me, it's always a sign of like I just always think blockage. Like there's something big that's going on, like that. It's an imbalance. It's a blockage. Like, and it's one that you can't hide. That like when Paul Chek talks about sick fit people, like
Yeah.
there's someone who are lucky enough to lucky quote unquote to be able to hide certain deficiencies from the rest of the world, but unfortunately when you're more obese, I look at it as just like it's a blockage, that there's something severely deficient or something severely out of balance in your life, and this is just a physical manifestation of it, because once you seem to right it, it always seems,
Yeah.
that obese person is no longer obese.
Well, the guy from the Jets had the surgery, right? Which I was like, that's the ultimate.
Right. And now the problem is in football, or a very stressful sport, like I'm sure soccer in Europe and whatnot.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's stress. There's a lot of stress. And that's,
Yeah, it's the stress, yeah, and people are doing anything and everything they can to win, and
Yeah.
they're obviously, like you said, they live and breathe that, which means that they're completely neglecting other areas of their life, and for some, they're unfortunate enough to let it manifest in that way, or sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people are just really unlucky in that, they're the way that stress will
Accumulate is more physical.
yeah, it's more physical, exactly. Whereas like someone else, it's more like causing hypertension, and then you'll have the heart attack at 50.
I agree. Like I said, this is more like a personal thought. It's never like a judgment, because I've seen this, but the sadder aspects are like, look, we can all sit apart here and say, oh my God, look at Andy Reid, blah blah blah. Look at his son, his family life, and it was all at the cost of XYZ. But we don't really know. We don't know what goes on in that household. We don't know if he's made decisions,
Right, absolutely.
Maybe his mom was really high anxiety, and she was stressed in the womb, and he just got all that cortisol dump, and he got to a point, like you said, you used a really good word, like blockage. When I see somebody who's really obese and like overweight, at some point their organs and liver like said, okay, I'm done. So basically, in a way, sometimes fat is not because you're eating too much calories. It's because your organs are in such damaged shape that they're storing all this toxic stuff in your body as fat.
Right.
And it's like, this is the way we work now. Like, you eat what you want, and then we take it and store it for you to help save your life. You know?
Right.
Weird. People don't really realize that aspect of being obese sometimes is that. It's like your body's saving you. It's like, hey, I'm not going to keep this sugar in your bloodstream or let it go to your liver or let it process to your kidneys. I'm going to store it as fat.
Right.
So some people don't forget that aspect. So we never know, and it's always been just a funny thing. It's like,
Yeah, absolutely, and I can always say too, like I don't really take the Rogan stance of like it's a weakness. To me, it's just a blockage, like because I've had a couple severely obese clients, and I had one that had a lot of success. Started at 220, female, started at 220, and worked her way all the way down now to probably I don't train her, but we keep in contact. One in the 140s, and is a marathoner now and loves running. And you know, for her and for anyone who always drops a significant amount of weight, almost always a significant life change happened outside of the gym to get them there. I've said this on the podcast before. Anyone who was drastically different in weight than they were or has had extreme success made a giant life change, often in the realm of dumping a job that was completely out of whack with what is healthy or what was in line with their values and whatever. That it wasn't until they dumped the crazy shit job that and got a better one or did something more in line with themselves that they really began to not only drop the weight but really be healthy, understand health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing that got me mad because Rogan would not listen to the fact that, okay, so you're telling me only a skinny fit person is the best leader? They're not capable of being assholes or dicks or, I was just, it almost devolved into like a childlike argument where they were using these philosophical they were using philosophy, but it was very like, there was a lot of faults in logic, and I was like, I don't mind if you have that opinion, but don't try to convince me with your half-ass logic,
Right. No,
Like,
I understand where you're coming from, 100%.
I got angry. I was like, damn, dude, I got so mad. I'm like, dude, come on. I guess it's a good sign. Like, it's like your friend trying to convince you something, and you're like, dude, no. Like, you get so mad because we listen to so many of his podcasts.
Yeah, oh hell yeah, I admire the hell out of the guy. He's a huge role model for me in a lot of ways. But yeah, no, definitely. And I don't think Savage helped it either by trying to black and white the issue, but he was coming from a place of purity, I think, so I don't blame him.
Yeah. Well, Rogan does the black and white thing too. I mean,
oh yeah, no one's above it. Everyone will do it at some point. But where I do give Rogan credit is that he is someone who seems to understand better than most that life is a big gray area. Hence, I think the philosophy of his show of like, you're not going to come on here and give me talking points.
And that's why I get mad when he tries to get black and white. I'm like, dude, this isn't your thing. Why are you? It's such a stark. I mean, he stands for certain things, and we all know what he stands for, what he likes. But when he tries to do this shit, I'm like, come on, dude. Even deep down that you're fucking bullshitting right now,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's funny how we've turned into Media Critic Hour on Functional Meatheads.
I know. It was just, we're talking about serious. Like, this is a serious.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, is there such a thing as there's always jokes about fat trainers.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. Like, there's a lot of trainers that know a lot of stuff about this, and they're not. I would say they're considered chubby. But does that mean you should not train for them? It's almost the same argument in a lot of ways, and it's like, don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody has different body shapes and body sizes, and remember, trainers are always doing different things. Sometimes the body gets used to certain workouts and everything else. And my always counter argument, it's a very simple and yet probably not the best logic, but it's like all the coaches I had in high school, for all the sports that I did, probably like 2 of them were in shape.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the best coaches I've had too, they don't look like who's like a fine human specimen. Give me someone. Like,
the dude from, well, look at baseball managers. They're all, well, they're pretty.
well,
Someone
like on one end you have like a bodybuilder, on another end you have a Cristiano Ronaldo, like
there
something.
never seems to be any fat hockey coaches.
What was that?
There's never any fat hockey coaches.
You want to know why? Because they got to skate all the damn time at practice. You have to be able to move with the players. Yeah, coaches in hockey move around. They're in practice. You know, they have sticks and pucks, and they're out there playing. So it's a young man's thing. And a lot of hockey coaches. Some people might argue, but they don't go deep into old age. Like you don't have like Joe Gibbs in hockey. You have you retire at 55. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
coaches, you know. But you know, a lot of my hockey coach. The point I was trying to make though is that the people in my life who have been the best not always were the healthiest, but they would look healthy, but they didn't look like Ronaldo or some bodybuilder or some like hulking Patrick Willis specimen who's like you know what I mean? Like Patrick Willis is like a hell of an like his build, like he's so fucking athletic and he's so gigantic. Like you know, that's amazing. But I never had those people in my life. It was always it's always just real normal people, you know, because maybe it's the martial arts thing, but martial arts will teach you real quick to never judge a book by its cover, you know.
Dude, that's the thing, dude. Because even Rogan was saying, remember the Russian guy?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of his name.
Fedor.
Fedor, yeah.
Yeah, he was like, he would look like an insurance salesman, like a fat, chubby insurance salesman. I'm like, yeah, exactly, dude. But he could destroy anybody.
Right. I mean, I've rolled with guys who are overweight and definitely couldn't hide the fact that they're overweight, and they are they still know the technique as well, if not better than anyone. And you know, it's just when I see that, whenever I'm at jiu-jitsu and I see guys who are overweight, I know for the most part their obesity blockage comes from either eating like shit or being extremely stressed, because I know that, and I've seen how flexible they are and they have the movement thing down, and I know how often they come, so they're not doing too much movement. It's all about like it's for them, it's all, and then people always joke in the locker room with them too, like you know, like they'll say something like, yeah, I just eat like shit. You know, that's what it is. Or it's like, I have a really stressful job, and, you know, it just manifests like that. And hence your blockage. That's your blockage, you know?
Hence your blockage.
Yeah. So.
That's a good t-shirt.
Exactly. Exactly. That'll be functional meatheads on the back. Hence your blockage. But you're right, though. You never, I never really discriminated against the fat trainer because
we're using that air quotes.
Air quotes, yeah. Because I mean, you and I always called ourselves the X-Men trainer when we worked at the gym that we did together where I met you, because we didn't look like the rest of them, or you know, I was always just a skinny guy, you know. I'm a lanky, skinny guy, like, you know, but very average at that. I mean, over the years, I've gotten more fit and probably look it more, but you know, especially back then, that wasn't us. And but you know, you obviously know from listening to the show how much Froy and I think about this stuff, and yeah, so I kind of always use myself as an example. And then I also worked with one trainer too, who was one of the better trainers I've worked at over the course of my young career. And he was overweight, but he was down 100 pounds already, and still had like 50 more to go. And I saw how he ate, I saw how he lived his life, and it's like he's on the path, you know. Like every month, the dude's gonna weigh less. So if you're judging by that, he was probably as good of a trainer as I've ever worked with. So you just can't judge like that. And you know, the clients who are open-minded enough about it, they usually are the ones who are happiest because they end up with a good trainer that they didn't judge, you know.
Yeah. No, it works out both ways. It works out both ways. I totally understand it, and I kind of I mean, like you said, we both been through it. We were the trainers that weren't like other trainers would judge us, everything else, and it's like I can train you under the table. I'm not worried about it, like put me in with your clients. I guarantee you they'll switch over to me in a second. You know what I mean? That type of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mentality you have to have. And I'm seasonal. Like I like to run in the spring and the summer, so I'll get skinny. And then winter, it hits me hard, so I gain a little bit of weight, but I also lift weights. So it's almost like we're realistic about our weight loss because we're in tune with certain things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I understand.
Yeah, and just to diverge for a sec, that mentality of like, put any of your clients with me, they'll switch to me. I've never been that type of like I'm just using this as a general example. I've never had that mentality. I just worry about myself. Like the moment I start to compare myself to others, and this is why I'm not particularly competitive, because
Yeah.
I'm so self-competitive. Like it's
Yeah.
why over the years I always, even though I love hockey, would be the exception. Individual sports are always what I ended up liking more because it's just you. And I didn't want to have to worry about other people. Like that's why once I started playing golf, like as a young teenager, I really liked it. It's why I like tennis. It's why I like martial arts a lot. It's an individual sport.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just because I'm not motivated by that. Like, oh, they're disrespecting us, so go to show them. I'm
No, I
not one
like
of
it
those
because I
guys.
usually see their workouts and I'm like, that's like you're not doing a squat right, you're not doing this right. It's like a lot of. It's more like they want to judge you based on what you look like, and you want to judge them based on how they train, which is the
Right.
more important aspect of it.
Exactly.
Is the like, okay, well, you look really good, but you're damaging the person's body that you're working with. So not
Right.
only are you not training them, you're detraining them.
Hmm.
So it's kind of it was more like let's put the knowledge base on the line as opposed to my pecs.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Right. It's why you always have to remember too that I think the reason that training always shoots itself in the foot as a practice that people would utilize more widespread is because uh, it gets cheapened often by people who are very good looking who get into it because people tell them, oh, you should be a trainer. you,
Oh
you
yeah,
should do this. And it's not to criticize them so much. It's more of just to be like, they didn't get into it to heal you. You know what I mean? They got into
yeah,
it because it was like a peer pressure thing. It's like, well, I'm good looking, and that's very good for business. Uh,
cool.
and it is good for business, and it helps people a lot. And I'm never going to criticize them, but I'm going to say though that I think it does cheapen it because you do get people like that in
Cool.
there, and people don't acknowledge. It
I
keeps
got
people, yeah, it just keeps people from using it as like a. I'm not saying that we're on the level of like a optometrist or
Yeah,
like a doctor, but I'm just saying that there's a lot to be had with someone who knows how to. There's a lot to be said for someone who knows how to move the body really effectively.
I got you. Got a couple minutes for any projects? I don't really have any new projects.
Me neither, really. I mean, I was gonna take this time to talk about that one article
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Go for it.
sent you before.
Go.
It's kind of on task here with a lot of things, but I showed Troy this article. I guess he had read it already. That Dr. Oz had to go before Congress. Because that's a very important thing for Dr. Oz to do and Congress to take time to do. Um, and the headline of the article, which is problematic, and I'll get into that, is Dr. Oz is grilled in Congress, admits weight loss products he touts don't pass scientific muster. And you get into the article, and you see that basically there was a hearing before Congress, and they were grilling him on being advocating supplements, products, dietary advice that doesn't really have great scientific evidence. Um, and none of which is harmful, you know, none of which is that's even why they're saying it. They're just saying like, stop telling people that they can drink coffee and lose weight, you know. And Dr. Oz, you know, to his credit, he's very eloquent in a lot of ways, and this is the quote I wanted to read because I think it sums it up and whatnot. Is that I actually do personally believe, or quote, I actually do personally believe in the items that I talk about on the show, he said. I passionately study them. I recognize that they don't have the scientific muster to present as fact, but nevertheless, I would give my audience the advice I give my family all the time, and I've given my family to these products, specifically the ones you mentioned. Then I'm comfortable with that part. So, and then the follow-up quote from Senator Claire McCaskill is, the scientific community is almost monolithic against you in terms of the efficacy of the three products you've called miracles. When you call a product a miracle, it's something you can, and it's something you can buy. It gives people false hope. Don't understand why you need to go there. And those two quotes kind of, to me, are where they got this stupid mangled headline from, that like Dr. Oz saying that they don't have the scientific muster to hold up. It's silly, and I'll let you get in here on this, but it's silly to me because in the article readily admits, and Dr. Oz admits, he endorses nothing. His face is on nothing. He doesn't make money from any of these supplements that he was advocating for. Like, he has no ties to them at all. He just believes in it the way that Freud has been talking about charcoal, you know?
Yeah.
And he's getting...
charcoal could very well be one of the things he talked about. Like, you never know.
Exactly. So, but the point is that my immediate reaction was just, okay, cool that you feel this way and you want to grill the guy, but you do realize that there are more people who are much more influential than him who actually advocate for products that they make money from, put their face on, and are a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, I would say like on it.
Yeah, the first one that came to mind was Jillian Michaels for me. She puts her fucking face on everything.
Well, he brought up what's her name, Snooki, and that weight loss thing.
Right. And
yeah.
I don't want to speak out of turn here. That's why I'm Googling it. But I'm pretty sure that Jillian Michaels put her name on some weight loss pills, and I know she does. I know she does all kinds of whey proteins and other things that are, yes, Jillian Michaels fat burner. There you go, right there.
This is gonna take up a lot, but that's fine. I'm glad we'll talk about the other stuff next time because there's so many different angles to talk about this one thing. Like, number one, as you and I know, like, you have to find the right mix for you. So let's say green tea extract, it could possibly work for you. Like, for example, recently I lost a bunch of weight. Like, I lost a bunch of weight. So I was like, okay. I started doing a couple of things all at the same time, you know, without specifically going, I'm just going to try this, I'm just going to try this, I'm just going to try that.
Right.
So one of the things I started doing was I started running a lot more. Another thing I started doing was I started, the Steve Maxwell morning ritual stuff, you know, the dry skin brushing, a lot more detoxing in the sense of lymphatic system, you know, flushing out my skin. Third thing, I started doing a lot more charcoal, controlled charcoal with bad food, right? Like when I was having bad meals, I would have a little bit of charcoal. And again, I don't recommend you doing this without researching it on your own, asking your doctor. And what else? Number 4, because of the Steve Maxwell's information, I started doing some of the herbs that I got from the Ayurvedic medicine. You know, they said for my body type, for the Ayurvedic body type, they recommended some herbs. So right then and there, I started doing like 1, 2, 3, 4 different things that I hadn't done before. And I lost a bunch of weight. There's no way for me to tell you exactly which one at what time.
And what percentage.
Yeah, there's just no way. But all I know is that I did a couple of these things, 4 things, all around the same time. So does that mean that I can never tell anybody, I could never recommend anybody activated charcoal? Does that mean I could never recommend these 3 Ayurvedic herbs that I'm taking? You know, all I know is I can relay my experience to somebody by saying, hey, try this in a controlled manner. Try this in a controlled manner. Move your body this way, etc., etc., etc. So it's kind of just as much as I can't say with certainty what one of those things did. I don't feel that somebody with this equal amount of certainty can say, no, for sure this doesn't do anything. Because what if you're that 1%, that green tea extract, like, holy crap, this helps in conjunction with movement, you know?
Right.
So it's also, that's one argument that you can take. The second argument is, dude, who are the biggest lobbyers in Congress, dude? Like, obviously big pharma, right?
Yeah.
So how the fuck did this even get on? Who gives a shit what Dr. Oz? You know, nobody came to Oprah and said, man, you're putting some stupid ass shit on your TV show. You know, like, nobody's proven that, you know, all this sociological blah blah blah. You know, like, I thought it was very ridiculous. I was surprised. I heard about it and I was like, oh, that's not that big of a deal. But then you brought it up and I'm like, wow, this is actually getting into the social consciousness. So I was kind of like, how is it not obvious that big pharma's like, yo, we're getting some losses on our drugs. You know, why can't we? You know, hey, we got to stop these people that are like, everybody's buying all this stuff. You know.
Yeah, you need to go grill the guy who tells you to take vitamins and drink green coffee. Yeah, because we're not selling Prozac.
Yeah, or Propecia. There's no, like, if Propecia for sure stopped hair loss, everybody would be on it.
Right.
Every guy in the world would be on it. So I mean, I don't really know, why aren't they there? Or, dude, why aren't they talking to Congress? Why isn't Congress talking to the guys who got bonuses after, you know, the stock market crash? Like, what? Like, really? Dr. Oz is the most important thing. We gotta watch out.
Yeah, I know. That was what was surprising to me. But to me, it was, if you're climbing up the wrong tree. That if you want to crack down on people who are saying that there's no personal responsibility and no movement and diet involved in losing weight, the ones you go to are the ones who are actually profiting off of bullshit products. This man doesn't profit off of bullshit products, you know? And for the most part, his show is pretty benign if you've ever watched it, you know?
It's actually really bad now, but I watched the first season when he first came out, and it was really good. I was like, whoa. Like, I would write stuff down while I was watching it casually, and then he said something. I'm like, oh, that actually makes sense. So I'd actually go get some pen to write down a bunch of stuff. And then it turns into a content monster. There's no way you can fill 5 hours of television a week with serious, in-depth, legitimate stuff. There's just no way to do it, you know?
Right, exactly.
So then you have to go to, like, the fringe, like, Ginkgo biloba, you know? Like, that type.
Exactly.
So I felt bad for the guy because I'm like, man, he's caught in this machine. So in a way, he had to kind of compromise a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? It's like, imagine if NBC came to you and me and said, hey, we want you to do a talk show about health and physical. Even you and I would run out of stuff to talk about.
Oh yeah.
Then we'd be taking anything about, like, health. This, you know. Does Barstar, you know, does Barstar's workout? These are the best workouts in the world, you know. Like, it almost becomes like a blog or like the internet, where it's like, how many times do you go on Reddit and you say, I lost weight, here's my before and after picture, and then everybody's kind of a little bit different, you know. Right. Almost to the point where, like, people make fun on Reddit. They make fun of you. I did it the old-fashioned way: exercise and watch what I ate. You know, it's like.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and to be fair, too, to take it back for a sec, you know, Dr. Oz probably shouldn't use words like, and they pounced all over him for it, but like, this is a supplement that works miracles, because for the reason you said initially, like, yes, maybe green tea extract works great for burning fat, but also in conjunction with eating well, and you don't know and exercise, but you don't know which degree which did, you know, what. So it's probably irresponsible to say that. So yeah, if you were to criticize him, it's like, yes, you probably shouldn't have said that, Oz. But to me, that's like a slap on the wrist. That's not like a, oh, you just signed a $2 million deal to endorse this fat burner, you know?
Yeah, I always wondered what he endorsed and what he didn't endorse. Um,
Yeah.
his books are very good. Do you ever read those books? You on a Diet, You on Your Body. Like it was really those books are really good. They're
No,
just
I
big,
have.
no real.
Yeah.
They're like really really good. Especially You on a Diet. It's a good book.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I haven't seen it, but like it's that my big problem though is just everything you said, but the number one problem was just I felt like they were going up the wrong tree, and it's just I had a soft spot for him when he said I recognize they don't have the scientific muster to present as fact, but nevertheless I would give my audience the advice that I give my family all the time. So that's stung with me because we're a big show of experimentation. We're taking vitamins, minerals, all these different things that we're wondering and informally testing. I mean, we don't have the means or the money to conduct a double-blind placebo, but you and I are willing to test, and it's not scientific, and no one's claiming it's scientific. We're willing to test, like, I wonder if this activated charcoal does anything. I wonder if Relora does anything.
yeah,
We're gonna test it. We're gonna tell you what we think. It's like a customer review from people who are slightly more informed customers because this is what legally we do, or how we make our money or make our living, and what we like. So I had a soft spot for him there because, you know, do you think that just because we can't present to you a double-blind placebo that these things shouldn't be talked about casually? No, of course not. You know?
I think it's really semantics in some part because if they have anything, if they have a leg to stand on, it's the what's the word? Sensationalization of everything. Like, yeah, the miracle cure. Like,
Sensationalizing.
yeah, that's what they have to do. And sadly, that's so stupid for Congress to take time out to smack them on the wrist and say, like, hey, when there's bigger issues to fry. Like it's almost like the Roger Clemens thing. Like,
Right.
really, you're gonna bring in Roger Clemens? Like, really? There's not bigger stuff going on. I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world. We're gonna prosecute him. Like, come on. Like, seriously, there was way bigger things to fry. But yeah, I mean, it's content. It's a content monster. It needs to feed itself. It's sad because it's close to home for us. So in a way, the slap on the wrist. But I think the way you present these things is you don't do it in a 5-minute segment on your TV show. And if you do, there's going to be some shortcuts made, you know?
Yeah, of course. And he has to know that too. But you also have to be a smart consumer. Like, consumers have to realize that too. The people watching, like, he's talking about this thing called Relora I've never heard of. It says it can get rid of belly fat, but also help reduce cortisol in my body. That sounds serious. It's not something I'm going to learn about in 5 minutes, clearly. Like, you have to have that dialogue with yourself when you watch it, That's a big part of everything. A lot of it's personal responsibilities.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that just buy stuff. That one TV show I told you, it was actually a good one. The Dr. G, we talked about it before. Like, it's the show where autopsies. So she gets bodies, and like this lady died in her sleep. And one of them was she found, like, she saw a TV show, and it wasn't Oz, but or a commercial, and they said DHEA, you need this if you're getting older. So she just ended up taking a lot of it every day, and she died because of it.
Yeah.
But that's 'cause she took it on the face value of, like, the miracle cure for for getting older, DHEA. So she took a lot of it because it's like, oh, well, if I take one, I can take three, and I'll be awesome. But it ended up killing her in her sleep. So it's like, I guess if you have to that level where people are like, if Congress is shaming Dr. Oz for that, then shouldn't they be more? Isn't it more of education based? Like, why aren't they spending time going, hey, how can we educate people on health? Instead of like, damn you, Dr. Oz, we can, like, it's almost like a bad parent yelling at a teacher for their student just sucking, when it's like, well, parenting is involved as well, not
Right.
just the teacher. So I wonder how it's going to change the show, and I wonder, like, man, if he had like an hour-long show once a week, it would be a good show because he could sift through the stuff he wants to. and go from there. But it's a content monster. Like, you end up, like, I was just reading about this one thing. It's churros. You know what a churro is?
No, what's the word?
That Mexican pastry churro. It's like a
Oh
long.
yeah, churro. Yeah, I know a churro. Yeah.
Well, they somebody in LA created a churro ice cream sandwich. So it's a circular churro with ice cream. It's like a circular churro, ice cream, and a circular churro on the bottom. So it's pretty fantastic if you think about it. And then somebody's saying, "Oh, it's the hot new thing." But then I looked at the comments, said, "Oh, they posted this 2 years ago," and it was a link. So I looked; it was the same damn thing 2 years ago. So it was. I was like, "This is where we're at. This is like content. We need to feed these machines." Like,
yeah.
the cronut is popular, so now let's try to make our own cronut. We'll call it this, and it'll be popular on the internet. Nobody will remember this from 2 years ago. Like, come on.
Yeah, well, like the cronut got popular, and then Crumbs makes their own cronut now, so it's like.
Yeah, it's actually pretty bad.
Yeah, it looks terrible. I would never eat that thing.
Yeah, it does not look appealing. I bought one for somebody, and I was like, this looks like crap.
The cronut or the Crumbs cronut?
No, I haven't had the cronut one. I've had the best knockoff one, and that's in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. It's pretty good.
Nice. I had a bite of a real cronut. I have to say it was pretty good. But
yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, it's super super sweet. Well, was yours sweet?
It wasn't too sweet. It was actually it was some nutty flavor like they do. I didn't want a whole one, and I didn't want to pay for a whole one, especially because you have to do all the, especially you're paying someone to wait online. There was a guy I work with who got a bunch, and I was like, I only want a bite. Just give me a little chunk, and I just wanted to try it. So I tried it. It was pretty good.
Did you God, the stuff people do in offices is hilarious. Did you
I know, right?
Did you yeah, I mean, it's good. It's interesting. I mean, nothing's worth waiting in line and like all that stuff, but the fake one is actually pretty good. Would you say it was better than Dough Donuts?
Absolutely not. I love originals. So yeah,
Dough Donuts is the bomb.
Yeah, I allow myself one a month. I actually hadn't had one in about 4 or 5 months. Maybe I've only had it. Maybe I had one in January, and I just had one recently for the first time in a while, and it was like.
What messed you up, fool?
What's that?
That's what messed your stomach up.
No, this was after I got after I got sick, but yeah, it was good. It was very good. They've gotten more substantial. They're big.
Get them when they're fresh. If you ever go there and they're fresh, it's like heaven. You're like,
oh, I have done that. I've gone to bed. I have made the pilgrimage to Bed-Stuy to get them when they're fresh.
Yeah, Bed-Stuy, really?
Yeah, that's where the original is. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're opening. What's that?
The one on that corner, right? It's like in a corner.
Yeah. And then you've been there, and they're opening one in Union Square actually nearby.
What?
Near
Where?
Union Square. I don't know. Let me look it up, but it's
insane. Right next to CrossFit.
Probably. Yeah, that'd be funny. It's not very paleo, bro.
It's anti-paleo.
Yeah. Dough Donuts Manhattan. It is going to be. Oh, there's one in Chelsea as well, or maybe this is considered Chelsea. Somewhere on 19th Street.
Well, good. Yeah, because I would say Union. I don't think they could afford the rent in Union Square, even though.
Well, proximity to Union Square is what I meant more than anything.
It's gonna make good. I mean.
They have a hell of a business expansion team because they are in every Whole Foods. They are in many coffee shops, including a bunch near where I work now, which is very dangerous. They also are in Union Market and all types of grocery stores. So they stock a lot of people with donuts, and they have a heavy presence at the flea markets too, with opening stands.
They're better than Donut Factory or whatever.
Donut Plant. I agree. Most people would smack us for saying that, but I 100% agree.
People love Donut Plant. I'm like, dude, that's like, I'd rather have Dunkin' Donuts than Donut Plant.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I don't care for Donut Plant. Only because,
dude, I'm not gonna spend money for a fancy donut that tastes. I'd rather have a crappy You
It's a
could tell.
fucking peanut butter and jelly donut. I would eat a peanut butter and jelly if I wanted a peanut butter and jelly. Make me a good donut. That's what I want when I want a donut.
I was surprised when people tell me, I'm like, either they've never had dough. I've never met anybody that would prefer dough over that doesn't prefer dough over though.
Right. You have to have had dough. If people haven't had dough, I'm like, you got to try that before we
And then the
talk.
only reason they don't go is because it's in Brooklyn.
Yeah, and now you can't even make that excuse because if there's a Whole Foods in every neighborhood, just go to Whole Foods. They have them there.
I've gotten the Whole Foods one though. I've gotten like day old Whole Foods ones, I think.
Yeah, of course, you know.
Like the ones we used to get sometimes, like they didn't feel as fresh as like maybe it's because I've been spoiled and I went to the actual store and I got a fresh one.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. But anyways,
You never know.
I shouldn't be talking about donuts.
I know. After our health rant, like our holier than thou health rant, it's
Yeah,
like, hey,
we
let's
want
talk
fat
about
people eat donuts.
yeah, but we didn't say anything
No,
about fat people. We were not.
I'm being extreme.
I know. I'm being a douchebag.
It brings me to another thing though. Like it's almost like weight loss. Like when we talk about these things in terms of like, I'm gonna start telling people I don't do weight loss anymore. I'm creating this term right here. This is where you do it first. I don't do weight loss anymore. I do health gain.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
Because it's like I've had a couple of clients. I've had a lot of people. Well, I want to lose weight, and so their logic is, and I don't blame them. This is how I used to think as well. It's like, well, I want to come to you 3 times a week, an hour, and I go, okay, but here's the big picture. It's like, if you want to lose weight, for me to tell you it's all in the workout, I'd be lying to you. Losing weight is all nutrition. I can make you lose weight, and we've talked about this before. I can make you lose weight, but basically what I'm going to do is put you through a death camp. I'm going to tell you eat this many calories and work out this much. So basically I'm going to make you skinnier by killing you in a way, like, you know, making you, like, putting you through a death camp. So, like, you get skinnier and skinnier and skinnier at restricted weights, right?
Right.
So then I started going, that's why you get stuck when you say weight loss. Is like, is the trainer actually doing weight loss with you? No, you're doing, weight loss is all you. Your trainer is making you healthy. You're gaining health. It's not like a trainer can make you lose weight. A trainer can point you in the direction, but you're going to do all the work.
Right.
So I said, I'm not going to do weight loss anymore. I'm only going to do health gain.
Hey man, it makes sense. It's true because to lose weight and be healthy, you're never going to do it in any lasting way without changing your habits, which inevitably will mean you making healthier habits for yourself. So.
Yeah. Or that, or you're going to tie yourself to the gym every time you eat a meal, and then you're just a hamster in a wheel. I had a Big Mac. Got to go run on the treadmill for 2 hours, or you're always going to be behind the 8 ball.
Right.
If you do it that way, it's never. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I don't. I'm not going to lie to you. And she said, well, I figured if I eat what I want, I'll just work out with you more dedicated. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, what if you're eating stuff that shuts down your core? Then I have you do a core exercise, and I'm actually damaging you, like all that other stuff that we know about. And so it started getting a little bit slippery slope, and I was just like, hey, the best bet for you is to change the way you eat, 80-20. You can still have your cheat days on the weekends. Just eat what you want. Eat what you're supposed to during the week. Like it's not worth anybody. I'll be stealing money from you because at best that's a haphazard plan. Like, all right, we're going to work you out until you lose weight. That's a haphazard. That's not a very well thought out plan at all.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. I just try to gain the advantage of describing them. Hey, man, we're not going to lose weight. We're going to do this. We're going to health gain, and this is how we health gain.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me of interactions with a certain type of client. I'm not talking about one in particular here, but multiple times I've had someone say or express that type of faulty logic, like, I will come and work out hard because I can eat whatever I want, or I can eat whatever I want because I'm working out, whatever. And they're usually the ones who have not really done a whole lot of physical things in their lives, or have not. It's been some time since they have, which is fine. But they'll typically show up and they know that it's faulty thinking, and usually I'll give them that look, and then they laugh or break down, and it kind of becomes a point of joking. This is kind of how I used to handle it in the past, and it's more of an observation rather than how I handled it. And so anyway, they'd come in, and kind of like you said, you knew how much they're jacking their body up because they're sleeping 5 hours and eating crap. So I wouldn't give them like the boot camp, death camp workout. I would do what I thought was appropriate and least likely to hurt them and most likely to help them in their short-term crappy state.
Yeah.
But they're so afraid of like, okay, this guy's gonna destroy me because I told him I'm eating like crap, and in their brain it's calories in, calories out only, and they get so psyched up, and one of two things happens. I give them this relatively easy workout, and they dread it, and they go through it like, oh my god, this is so difficult. And it's one of two things is happening there. They're psyching themselves out, or it really is difficult, and they're just that jacked up. But I think in most cases it's them psyching themselves out, which shows you how much power your mind has over things, because you're already lying to yourself that somehow this will be okay if I go to the gym and let Mark work me out, even though I'm just eating whatever I want and leading a very unhealthy life. But you're also having that dissonance of like, this is not a very hard workout, but I'm acting like it is because it's like my brain wants the punishment. Like I want to fulfill this crazy prophecy in my head that this is how it's going to work. And then that just, I know it's a strange anecdote, but it shows you how weird our mind is and how weird these gymnastics are that like we'll play on ourselves, you know?
Well, they're faults in logic, faults in philosophy, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I said, look, basically, and there's no guarantee you're going to lose weight if I put you through the death camp, because all that is stress. So if you're eating bad and you're not getting enough sleep, I'm going to make you fatter.
Right.
That's a fact. And then so these are the people that Paul Chek and Steve Maxwell would say, no, we have a difference in philosophy. I can't help you.
Right.
That's the difference, and that's the level where those guys are at. They're like, so that's why they get the broken people, and I don't mean that in a bad way. We're all broken at some point. Broken logic, broken organs, broken whatever, broken
right.
spine. That's why they get those people. That's why they don't take those people, because they know it's going to fail because that person's mind is coming from this position. If you can trick your mind into saying, I'm going to eat what I want, da-da-da-da, then you say, look, I can't work with you. I'll recommend you to another trainer. So in a way, it's like a double mind fuck. It's like, I'm not going to tie my name to your lack of success.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, who are you working out with? Mark. Wow, he sucks. And it's like, well, no, Mark's fucking putting together the dope program. Mark's having me do work-ins. Mark's telling me to get sleep. Mark's telling me to drink enough water. Mark's telling me to meditate. And I'm eating a cheeseburger, and I'm going to go run 5 miles tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's when it gets a little nutty. And that's usually why you'll get turned down if you get turned down by a trainer,
Yeah, and that's the level where people need to be. Because, because that would actually be a mind shock to them. Be like, what? You don't want the money? Like, no, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to fit into your sick fantasy of
right.
like, this is how the world works. Because you're obviously coming because you need help. Anybody else who tells you otherwise. And of course there's a placebo effect of, okay, I'm working with a big buff trainer. He's going to grind me out. I'm going to lose weight. Yeah, there's going to be a certain percentage of people that lose weight.
Yeah. You know who had the best analogy about this? A few months ago, Adam Carolla was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he said, it's the type of thing, he was talking about how his dad made him go to see a female therapist when he was a teenager because Adam had such a weird relationship with his mom, and his dad was just kind of like on this like meta level of just like, I'm going to pay for you to go to a female therapist because I need you to have a healthy relationship with a woman. And, whatever. But that's not why I get into this. The reason I say that is because Adam said, who knows if that and the act of going to a therapist help. But one thing we do know is that it's analogous to like I'm taking the multivitamin, I'm getting healthier, I'm taking an active role in my health by just thinking I'm going to go take a multivitamin or vitamin
Yeah.
D. And it can be many other things, but just that very act of you being like, all right, I'm taking a role in my health. I'm not just letting it passively go by, you know? That's how you have to be with it. And what you just said reminded me of that.
No, I agree. That makes sense. It's like I said, there's going to be percentages that it works in favor of, and I'm fine with that, and I'm fine making my statement and believing in it because I know ours is more of a long-term, safer bet than the okay, let's just work out a lot because that'll work for some people, but it won't work for everybody. But I will tell you what will work for everybody: eating better, sleeping better. Like there's no way around that, you know.
100%.
100%, dude. So yeah, remember you heard it here first. Health gain instead of weight loss.
Health gain. Yeah, don't screw us on that, people.
Yeah, we got it. It's recorded. We're here for all posterity.
It's true. On June 18th, 2014, at approximately 7.
Julian Michaels, health gain.
Yes, my health gain. Gains, bro.
Your health gains, brah.
How your gains, man?
Yeah, hit us up on Twitter if you like health gains. Vote.
Yes.
Hashtag health gains.
If you totally want a functional meathead gain, just email us at functionalmeatheads@gmail.com or visit us at functionalmeatheads.com. And always find us on iTunes or Stitcher. And you are always welcome to hit us up by any means necessary. Well, nothing too crazy.
Mark the website health gains after this.
Health gains. I'm sure someone owns that.
Let's see. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
Hover, you said?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure someone owns it. But yeah, let's unless you want to keep people in the air to find that out.
Nah, it's okay. Well, it'll be a hangover. And next week, I promise, we'll finish up the Maxwell list.
Yes, the Maxwell list. You know, Maxwell is a guy who says he hates his pet peeve is fat trainers. So.
Ah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, take care, everyone. We will talk to you next week. Time for the woo off, and to watch the regular show, and go USA for our USA listeners.
Health gains is not available, dude.
Because it's the American way.